Hello! I just wanted to make a quick video because I just finished watching the first two episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I actually have some things to say about it. I decided I'd talk about it now instead of just waiting for the show to finish, because I feel like I can make more smaller episodes instead of making a really big, long episode about a whole season, so that's where my head is. I want to say there's things in this show that I liked, and there's some things that I didn't like. The first thing I did really like is I did really like the characterization of Obi-Wan. I think this is an interesting direction to take him in, as like this sort of fallen hero who went on his hero's journey and he lost. He lost the big battle, and now he's just become a hermit on another planet. I like how they don't just make him sort of ultimately good, that he always does the right thing in every situation. They put a spotlight on it. There's a guy that gets paid half of his paycheck at work, and Obi-Wan decides not to do anything about it. There's just several times we see Obi-Wan decide not to help anybody and sort of stay out of the limelight, because it's the best thing. It's portrayed more as like hopelessness for Obi-Wan than it is about like a good decision that he's making. Which I do kind of like. We also see that he can't summon the ghost of Qui-Gon for whatever reason. He's wishing for Qui-Gon's guidance, but he can't get his ghost to appear, which is interesting, I guess. I will say that the one thing that was super worrying to me going into episode 1 was definitely the fact that the show is set on Tatooine. We have another show set on Tatooine after Boba Fett was set on Tatooine. And I was like, I am so sick of this planet. Like, Boba Fett, I didn't, honestly, I didn't really like Boba Fett all that much. And I think its setting was the worst thing about it. It's like, if it had put Boba Fett anywhere else, like, it would have been interesting. I understand why they put him there, because of, like, his association with Jabba. But, like, just don't. Like, Tatooine is boring. It's boring. It's meant as, like, a starting planet, A place where you start, it's rags to riches, that's sort of the story. Is like you start on this shitty desert planet, and then you go to a cool place after that. It's like, don't set the whole thing on this boring ass colony. It sucks. I hate it. Luckily, this show takes us off planet. I mean, in the first episode, it takes it goes over to Leia's place and covers parts of her story, where she's at, where her parents are at, and it turns out that Leia is actually a big part of this plotline, which is cool. But additionally, it takes us off planet because of the developments in the story. So I want to say, flat out, there's a couple things I want to talk about. For one, the beginning of the story definitely reminds me a lot of a certain comic book arc that I read way back in like 2015, 2016. Maybe even as late as 2017, I don't know. But, like, the Star Wars canon comics had an arc where they covered, basically called The Journal of Obi-Wan or something like that. And it covered this exact time period. And so I thought there was going to be a lot of crossover, if not them just, like, adapting that storyline to television. But this is a little different, but there's parts of that comic that I swear were in the comic that were referenced in this. For example, Obi-Wan leaving a present for Luke, and Owen basically throwing the present back at Obi-Wan and saying he'd just stay away from him and all that. I could have sworn that exact scene played out in the comics, because it was like this weird deja vu I was getting watching certain things happen again. And I remember him watching Luke from a distance, not interacting with him. I remember him living in a cave. Like, yeah, this is all stuff that was in that comic books. But the story goes in a different direction with him going to save Leia. Because if I remember correctly, that comic book story was actually Obi-Wan. It all took place on Tatooine, and it was Obi-Wan actually saving Luke from some sort of thing that happened to him. But it's getting me a little confused, because I'm wondering if they're like kind of overwriting that lore, What? I don't know. It really doesn't matter all that much, honestly, but I thought I'd bring it up because I thought it was maybe interesting. There's something else during that scene, where Owen confronts Obi-Wan. The Inquisitors show up, which the Inquisitors are taken from the comic books. It's basically during this time period between Episode 3 and Episode 4, there was a series of Jedi, basically Jedi who betrayed the Jedi and became evil Jedi, and they became the Inquisitors, basically, and they all have names like first brother, second sister, third sister, stuff like that. Those are the Inquisitors. You can see them in the comics, namely the Darth Vader Series 2 comics, and if you've played Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, you'll see the Inquisitors in that as well, because that takes place in the same time period. Basically, these Inquisitors confront Owen, and there's a point in Episode 2 where an Inquisitor, that same Inquisitor basically confronts another guy and reads his mind to get the information she needs. So I thought it was weird thinking back to this one moment, because I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but jumping back to her confronting Owen, she's like, you know something. And then she doesn't just read his mind to find out what he knows. Instead, she threatens him and his family, and she's like, if somebody doesn't come forward, I'm going to kill this guy and his family. It's like, why doesn't she just read his mind if she can just do that? I don't understand that. It's established in Episode 2 that she can just do that, and she didn't, which is weird. Additionally, I guess this leads into the actions of the Grand Inquisitor, I guess he's called, the sort of bald guy with the earmuffs. His actions are really bizarre because he acts like an absolute idiot. I'm gonna reference like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, because in Knights of the Old Republic you get a pretty good look of how the dark side works, and I think it's interesting that in this show the Grand Inquisitor is very much trying to squash her ambition and her sense of pride, which is, to me, feels like weird, because I think that's the dark side, at least in Knights of the Old Republic, and I know that's not canon anymore, but values ambition and it values pride. These are things that it values. Like, you would think they'd be trying to maybe not nurture it necessarily, but like if it gets shit done, that's what they value. If she's out there and she's going to find Obi-Wan and she's like threatening people, like, this is exactly what the dark side does. This is exactly what the Empire does. I don't really understand why they're so against her doing her thing and getting results. And it seems to be established in the second episode that, like, he views her as a lesser being because she came from the gutter or something, from the streets. And it's like, why would they give a shit as long as she gets stuff done? Like, I don't know. I think it just doesn't really make sense to me in characterizing the dark side, because I feel like the way she's going about things is the dark side should, like, the Inquisitors should value her for doing what she's doing. She's doing the thing that they should be doing. And the fact that they're against her doing that is just weird to me. So the main plot line of this is basically that Leia gets kidnapped by some pirates, which is really funny because there's this whole scene of her basically getting surrounded by the pirates, and then she starts running away, and she's a small child, right? So, like, children have small legs, they can't run as fast as a fully adult human, So it's like hilarious. They do this twice where they have chase scenes with Leia awkwardly outrunning people, like fully grown adults, and it's just weird because you just watch her like slowly start to run away, and the pirates just like kind of wait for her to get going and then start chasing her. And then there's another scene in later on where she's running from Obi-Wan, and she does the same thing where she basically like runs straight towards Obi-Wan and then takes like a right, and it's like he's just like waiting for her to turn around the corner before he goes to the corner. It's like he could have easily grabbed her. It's just like really stupid. Just don't do this. Don't have her be able to outrun fully grown adults. It makes no sense, especially when we're actively seeing her running and she's so slow. She's like awkwardly waddling away, and it's like, dude, there's no way these adults are not gonna just instantly pick her up. Like, she's not gonna outrun these people. And then there's these, like, there's 2 chase scenes in both episodes of her running away from somebody and being rather successful at it. It's just weird. I don't know. It's just awkward, but it's a small nitpick. I don't really care that much. I will say I'm kind of like on the fence about Leia's character, I guess, because they really wanted her to be witty, but they also make her seem rather dumb in the second episode. Is that she comes to this weird conclusion that Obi-Wan is, like, the real kidnapper, and, like, there's some weird ploy that the pirates kidnapped her, but they were actually after Obi-Wan, which is true, and so she figures out that it's a trap, but then, like, it's a trap for Obi-Wan, but then she starts running away because she's like, well, maybe you're the real kidnapper. Like, what does that mean? I don't understand that. She thinks he's evil or something and starts running away from it, and it causes all these problems, and it's like, and it's also the fact that she just got kidnapped, she just escaped, and she's, like, walking through the streets and being very, like, openly talking about, like, this Jedi. She's like, you're not a real Jedi. All the Jedi are dead. If you were a real Jedi, you'd make me float. And it's like, is she too dumb to realize, like, they're on the run for their lives right now? Like, they're being hunted by some really bad people, and, like, they make her witty, but, like, she's doing such dumb things, so it's weird for her to be witty but also dumb. Like, those are conflicting character traits, I feel like. So the last thing I want to cover here, and I know I'm being a little bit negative, but overall it was fine. It was all right. I especially liked the scene with Obi-Wan where he has kind of a fist fight in a hallway. That was pretty cool. I'd like more scenes like that of just, like, really cool choreographed action. It was really short. It wasn't that cool. Like, we're not talking about, like, Daredevil levels of, like, hallway action scene. It wasn't that, but it was like it was starting to be something that was cool. So I basically skipped over the whole plot line. I don't know if I need to explain the plot line, but basically Obi-Wan, against his better judgment, decides he's going to help Leia after he's called to do so, but only after the Mr. Organa shows up. I forget his name. Mr. Organa shows up, and he's like, you have to do this. I believe in you. And he's like, all right, I guess I'll do it since you showed up in person. And it also seems that Obi-Wan's, like, force powers are reduced because he hasn't really been a Jedi in a while, and he's kind of got a wishy-washy, I guess, association with the Force now. He's barely able to use the Force to save Leia when she falls off a rooftop. So we know that he can barely use that. There is, like, a scene which, I mean, I feel like there might be a slight reliance on plot convenience, because there's this scene where Obi-Wan basically predicts that he's walking into a trap somehow, or he plans for it, I guess, and then he brings a vial of, like, dust, so he gets surrounded, and then throws this dust and is easily able to escape as this gas floods the room, even though he was pretty much cornered. It was just really kind of convenient, I felt like, for him to be able to escape that easily. Just didn't seem super well done, but, whatever. There's another character that they introduce who's, like, a guy that pretends to be a Jedi. I forget the actor's name, but I know he was in Eternals. I'm really bad with actors' names. He was in Eternals. He's a funny comedy man. And they use him, I guess, as a comic relief character here, because it is a bit of a grim, dark sort of atmosphere to the show, mostly. And he turns out to be a good guy, I guess, and he helps Obi-Wan and Leia escape. But I did find a little bit that his sense of humor, like, he was definitely a joke character in how obviously lying he was when he's first introduced, in such a way that it's comedic. How bad a liar he is, which doesn't really make his character make a lot of sense. It's more of a sort of Marvel characterization, I feel like, when you have a character that's just so ridiculous and almost cartoonish in its nature that it's like stops being really believable in this world that's mostly serious. But the last thing to talk about is at the end, basically this one Inquisitor that we're following, she's very ambitious, she's very prideful, she's really bent on capturing Obi-Wan. she's like confronts Obi-Wan and she starts telling him a bunch of stuff. And she ends up being the one that she basically tells him that she's going to turn him in. Like, what she wants to do is she wants to turn Obi-Wan over to Darth Vader so that she'll gain favor with Darth Vader. And she also reveals to Obi-Wan that Anakin is Darth Vader and is still alive, which a lot of that stuff conflicts with my understanding of the lore. There's two things. One, as far as I know, people don't know that Lord Vader is Anakin Skywalker. That's like a deeply hidden secret in the comics, especially. Like, people don't know that. So it's weird for somebody to know that, an Inquisitor to be privy to that information, because it would be a heavily kept secret. I don't think she should know that. And B, trying to gain favor with Vader, why would she want to gain favor with Vader? Vader doesn't give a shit about anybody. You can't really gain favor with Vader. You know, it would make more sense to want to gain favor with the Emperor, because that'll get you further. You know, if you're ambitious, gaining favor with Vader doesn't get you anywhere. So I thought that was weird. I mostly like the setup, and I mostly like what they're doing, I suppose, with the atmosphere. And I'm curious where they're going to go with this, if it's going to be a bunch of stories with Obi-Wan or what. But the villains have been kind of weird so far, kind of weak, I think, and not really making much sense. They've not been super well written, I think, and that's my biggest worry, I think, about it. And I don't want to spend too much time on Tatooine. That would be annoying. But other than that, it's all right so far. 2 episodes in. Those are my thoughts, really. So, you know, subscribe if you want to hear more. I'll probably be doing more videos as the episodes come out. I don't know if I'm going to do one for every episode or one for every 2 episodes, but we'll see. I also stream on Twitch now. If you don't know that, I'm streaming live on Twitch every few days or so you can stop by and check that out. I also have a VODs channel now, which is separate from this main channel, because I want to kind of reorganize everything, and I don't want to be flooding this with VODs when I could upload those to the other channels. So that's really the reason I created a separate channel for it, because I kind of want to, you know, consolidate my videos on this channel to not, you know, be flooded amongst a bunch of VOD videos as well. So that's why I did that. Anyways, yeah, that's about it from me for now. Like I said, subscribe, like, comment if you agree or disagree, you know, say whatever you want. I can respond. And yeah, that's it. Goodbye.